everyone, it's Ashley, and today I'm bringing you a recently read and currently reading video. It's kind of like an amalgamation of a wrap-up and a TBR. I've started filming TBRs in like the last probably 6 or 7 months. I've started doing monthly TBRs again, but I still haven't started doing wrap-ups again. I still kind of prefer this format, but if you prefer wrap-up format to this format, make sure to comment down below and let me know. Not that that will necessarily sway the way that I decide to film these, but I might start filming wrap-up videos if you guys really want them. As it stands, I really like only talking about 3 books in a video because I feel like I can talk more in depth without the video being like 15 minutes long. So without further ado, here are the 3 books I have most recently read. First, we have City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab and/or V.E. Schwab. I adored this. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It is about a young girl who can see ghosts and kind of like cross over the veil, for lack of a better way to word it, and her best friend is a ghost, and her parents are like these authors who like to talk about historical ghost sightings, and it's just so cute. Her parents are also like good parents, and in the book, which is rare for middle grade, and was so like refreshing and wonderful, but also the main character was spunky and adventurous, but also kind of not as like courageous, let's jump into adventure as a lot of like main characters in middle grade adventure stories are. I also found that really refreshing. All in all, I found this book to be like very fast-paced. If you're looking for something that is like spooky and October-y without being like horror or terrifying, but like has like the feel of like Hocus Pocus or like Halloween Town, or things that you watched on TV as a kid that you thoroughly enjoyed that were super October Halloween-y without being like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street-esque, which is, that's like what I look for in October. I don't want to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, I want to watch Hocus Pocus. This was the book equivalent of that. I really liked the writing. I found it was like high caliber while also being middle grade, while also not being patronizing. And I've been reading a lot of middle grade this year, like way more than I think I ever have before ever in my life. And I find that my #1 desire in a middle grade book is that it has that fast-paced adventure, but it isn't patronizing. Don't even know if I fully explained this properly for you because I just like it so much that I have a hard time describing it properly, but I really liked it. I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days. I like flew through it. Super fun, super fast-paced. I would highly recommend. Also, if you haven't read anything else by Victoria Schwab and/or V.E. Schwab, she is like one of my favorite authors of all time. She is a laugh riot and super insightful on Twitter. I would highly recommend following her there and on Instagram as well. But her books are phenomenal. Please pick her books up. So good. Next, I finally read Big Fish by Daniel Wallace. I have had this on my TBR for so long. I've wanted to read it for so long. I went into it with pretty high expectations, which is probably why it didn't get as high of a rating as I wanted it to. I came out of it giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was fun. I liked the writing. It was fast-paced. I did finish it pretty quickly, but it wasn't at all like what I expected it to be. I wanted a bit more mythical, I wanted a bit more magical, and I kind of wanted the main characters to be more likable. Like, I didn't find any of the main characters in this book to be quote-unquote likable. The dad was like interesting, but ultimately not a great person, and the kid was just kind of boring. I bought the movie when I decided to start reading this because I saw it as a kid and I remember loving it, but I haven't seen it since then, so I still want to watch the movie, but like I think I might come out of watching that movie thinking that the movie is better than the book, which is like terrifying and traumatizing, and I'm not super excited about, which is why I haven't watched the movie again. It just had a lot of elements to it that were like unfulfilled for me, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So it was like, I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I had problems with it, but I also had parts that I really liked. Like, there are some quotes in this that are so undeniably quotable, like just certain excerpts where I was like, that is such good writing. But then like I would flip the next page and a character would do something just horrible, but they would justify it and I would be like, no. So I'm kind of indecisive about this one. And lastly, we have Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I don't know why it took me so long to finally pick this book up. I have loved everything else by Marissa Meyer that I've read, which is pretty much just the Cinder series, but I gave almost every single book in that Cinder series a 5 out of 5 stars. I love that series to this day, still one of my ultimate #1 YA fantasy series. But I had heard mixed things about this, which is why I had waited to pick it up, but I really enjoyed it. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved the characters. I found that the two main characters were developed really well, and all of the side characters served a purpose and were developed, and there was a lot of side characters, which I really liked as well. The one thing that really got on my nerves while I was reading this is that it was super repetitive. I found that it would tell me something, and then like 20 pages later, it would tell me again, just to remind me, just in case I forgot, but then another 20 pages, they'd say it again. And I'd be like, yep, I was paying attention 40 pages ago and 20 pages ago, still paying attention, don't need to tell me a 15th time, I got it already. And that just really irks me. So I had a hard time with that. But other than that, it was really good. The concept was so cool. I really like that there is no good or bad guy, and I really like stories like that, like Vicious, or just any anti-hero story where there isn't really a good guy or a bad guy. There are just like people who have different opinions and stand on different sides, but aren't necessarily right or wrong, and I really like that. And also, like, I don't know if you know me, but I'm a fan of superheroes. So I was already kind of in love with the concept before picking the book up already. For those of you who don't know, Renegades is about a like futuristic world where, much like X-Men, certain people are either born or develop powers, and some of those people do good things and some of those people do bad things, but also you don't know if it's a good or bad thing. It's kind of like that is up to the eyes of the beholder. But the government tried to regulate them. They didn't like them. They wanted them gone. They didn't want a world with them in it. So a certain group of people kind of rebelled against the government and overthrew it. And then all of a sudden prodigies, which is what they call the equivalent of mutants in this series, the prodigies kind of came up and everyone was allowed to be a prodigy. They weren't like being repressed in any way, but those people were kind of seen as bad people, the people who overthrew the government. And then this other group came forward who were considered good people and kind of overthrew the bad people, but then they're trying to rebuild a government, but really who is the good guy and who is the bad guy? It's just, I would highly recommend. I read this like part audiobook, part physical read. I more physically read it than read it via audiobook. But if you are an audiobook person, if you like audiobooks, the audiobook for this was actually really good. I would highly recommend it. I loved both readers. It's dual narrated between the two main characters. I think I read this over the course of like 7 days, maybe 8 days, which for a book this big is really fast for me. But I found that I was like addicted to the plot. Like if I couldn't pick it up to read it, I was listening to the audiobook. I was spending all my time trying to like consume this story. Okay, so that is it for the books that I have recently read, and now we're going to talk about the books that I am currently reading and or want to pick up really soon. So first, I'm currently reading What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera, and I am loving it. I knew I'd love this before I picked it up because I love both these authors so very much, but this has like exceeded my expectations in so many ways. I am right here, so I have like I'm like 3/4 of the way done right now. I started this like 3 days ago and I am devouring it. It has like everything I want in a book. Dual narrated, takes place in one of my favorite places in the world, and it's an LGBTQ+ book. And it is just so good. The thing that I am liking about it the most so far is that the relationship and the characters are not perfect, and they're not even trying to be perfect, which I just really like. So like the relationship's so realistic in the sense that like someone will do something and someone else will just overreact. But like that's real life. Like sometimes people are just in a mood and they overreact and then they get over it. And that's just how it works. And I just find that both characters have flaws and yet positive qualities, and the other characters like accept the flaws and the positive qualities. And I just really like that aspect of the character development and the relationship development in this. Also, both characters have families that are both in the book and wonderful, and I just love it. Also, both families are like wonderful, not only just like as parents, but also about the fact that both main characters are gay. And it's so refreshing to see a story where the parents know the character's gay. Both characters are already out at the beginning of the story, and the parents are like totally cool with it, and it's just like, it's refreshing and nice, and I really, really, really like it. Next, I have Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I picked this one up a little while ago. It like just released, I think like a week or two ago. Catherine Arden wrote so far my favorite book of 2018, which is The Bear and the Nightingale. So I really wanted to pick this one up because, like I said earlier, I am loving middle grade books this year so much. And this is a like middle grade spooky read that again has like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus-y vibes where like it's creepy and it has a super creepy element, but it's still like not terrifying, which I personally really like. Like I prefer like paranormal to like guy with a machete. I'm really excited about this. It follows a young girl who gets this book called Small Spaces, and the book kind of predicts things in real life, and it has like a creepy farm, and there's a lot of character things and backstory, and I am currently about halfway through, and I am really, really enjoying this. It is, again, the perfect kind of creepy for me for the month of October, so if you're into that kind of thing, like kind of like more paranormal fun creepy, this one's probably right up your alley. And last but not least, I have The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jen Campbell. This is a short story collection of like magical, supernatural, fairy tale-esque retelling, folklore-y type stories. I have read 3 of them so far. I have loved them all. The writing is phenomenal, which I would expect from Jen no matter what anyways, but I'm really, really liking it, and I love that it's a short story collection. So like sometimes if I'm not in the mood for the book I'm currently reading, I will pick this up and just read like 1 or 2 of the short stories. And I like love that I can do that with a book like this, and I'm really liking it. I will leave links for all 6 of the books I talked about in this video in the description box down below in case you want to check them out. Okay, so that is it for my recently read and currently reading. Make sure to comment down below and let me know the books you're currently reading. What have you recently read? Did you love it? Do you think I would love it? Make sure to comment down below and let me know. And other than that, I will see you guys soon with another video. Happy reading. Bye!